Yay! Welcome to our next episode. We're so excited. We have two very special guests. Who one of them is my cousin Jane. I only call her Jane in the third person because if I talk to her, I will have to say 경주 언니 because I just cannot directly call her Jane. But my cousin Jane, and then Ellen, and they also have a podcast called Reply Yachin, and we're so happy that they're our guests today. We'll have them do a bit more. Yeah, so excited. And we'll definitely get to know you a bit more, throughout our 1차, 2차, 3차. But to start, since you are our guests, could you share what you're snacking on and drinking on today?
I brought good Prosecco. Things like I have rosé that's non-alcoholic. I was like, ew. No, thank you.
I mean, it's 1 p.m. It's fine. On a Monday.
No, I only agreed to this because I knew we were drinking.
Yes. At 1 p.m.
Yes.
1 p.m. is totally fine.
Lunchtime. You can have a drink with lunch.
Yeah.
We got spicy jalapeno chips and tacos.
Wow.
Tim's
love
jalapeno
spice.
potato chips. Those are my
Yeah.
They're the best.
We are of the same species.
Yes, the same species. We are all Korean.
If it's not mewa, I don't want it.
That is true. Oh, merch. We should put that on merch.
Oh, okay. We'll write that down.
Okay. Christine, why don't you share next?
Yes. I am doing a continuation of the last episode. So I have some mezcal, and then I'm mixing that with something healthy. This is tangerine.
Balance. We're all about
It's
balance.
all about balance. This is tangerine probiotic sparkling beverage from TJ. So I'm using that as like a little mixer.
Look at that fancy cup.
Yes, the cute.
Yes.
And then this is Pompadon chips, lentil and chickpea crisp. I do think that this should be a little spicy, so I brought some Zoog spicy sauce. I'm going to dip it and munch on this during the episode.
I'm just drinking a nice vodka cran, classic.
Ooh,
maybe like
classic.
throwing it back to college or so. I don't know, but simple vodka cran. And then I also have some TJ's snacks, similar to Christine. She has those TJ Pompadon things. I have these like cheese and like grain crisps. I don't know.
Those are so good.
Is it good? Okay, it's my first time trying it. So I have that.
Because it has peppercorns in it.
We are Korean, actually.
Yeah.
Ooh.
This always turns ASMR during this during this
part.
section.
And then I have the chocolate covered power berries. So it's
Yum,
like
I love
chocolate
those.
covered berries.
Love those.
So that's me.
Love those. Wow. Okay, I'll go now. I feel like Christine, you and I are riding the same wavelength today, but today I'm doing Olipop, which is a probiotic soda, and the strawberry vanilla, and then I added a swig of mezcal in that one too, because balance. Yeah. And then I'm doing, for even more balance, I'm doing what is this? Red bell peppers with like a yogurt dip that I just made.
I thought those are hot Cheeto puffs.
Casual.
Yeah.
Wait, that would be good with yogurt.
As soon as I saw the jalapeno chips, I was like, damn. I took the wrong turn this morning, but it'll be good. This is gonna be a fun episode. I already feel it.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
So lit.
All right.
And she's pouring another. She's filling her glass already.
She's already refilling. Oh my god. Okay. I think that means we need to go to.
Catch up.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe I should check my drink.
Over before it starts.
It really does.
Oh my god. Okay. So let's with
are
that.
we
We should go to
choosing?
Ilcha.
Yeah.
Oh well, actually, we didn't even say what topic we're doing. Like, what? We're just
Yeah,
hanging
yeah.
out.
Doesn't
We're just-
matter. Let's just
yeah.
hang out.
We're just hanging out today. Today, we're going to talk about finding our inner child. And then also, our lovely guests are our 언니's, which if you don't speak Korean, it's like our older sisters. And so we wanted to ask them some questions as well, get some advice from our 언니's, since they, I'm sure they have a lot to share. So with that, let's cheers!
Okay, 1차. Okay, so in 3차 fashion, we go each round. We get deeper and deeper as we get drunker and drunker, hopefully. So we'll
She was also non-alcoholic. Why
I'm
would
a
you do that?
lightweight because I still have
I mean-
a long day ahead. Yeah.
yeah, sometimes we do mocktails and things on the show, so it's okay. In 1차, we wanted to learn a little bit more about you two and about Reply Yachin. So if you wanted to go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Okay, I can go first. I'm Jane, and this is
Ellen.
and we host a podcast called Reply Yachin or Reply YC for short. And can you explain Yachin?
여친, in Korean is 여자친구. I was gonna actually tell you about this. I'm so annoyed. 여자친구 is girlfriend. 여자 is girl. 친구 is friend, right? And then you drop the 자 and the 구, and then it's like GF, girlfriend, 여친, right? So I don't know if you saw it, but we had an Instagram message that was like, well, in Korea, they only say 여친 romantically. I was
It's
like,
true.
I was like, no, good thing we're in America.
So that was our way.
Good thing we're Korean Americans. I was so annoyed.
Well, we knew that, but
Right.
it's a nickname for romantic connection. However, we're kind of reclaiming that because we're
Right.
Korean American.
Right.
Love
And
that.
Love that.
In American slang, we say like, "Oh, girl, like we're girlfriends."
My
You know, you're
girls, yeah.
You're-
Like, that's
Yeah.
our thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this little Instagrammer was like, oh, well, in Korea, they only use it for romantic. I'm like, oh, well, we're not in Korea, are we?
we love being schooled by the trolls on
So annoying.
our Korean usage. And we're fine. being-
Anyway, yeah.
we're fine bastardizing
Yeah.
it. Really, I mean,
We love Yachin. We're romantic.
so we started this podcast in the summer. I'm always the one to reel it back. in.
Yeah.
But we started it in the summer, and it was kind of it was sparked by our in real life conversations. So Ellen and I met on TikTok as content creators, and we realized we're both Korean American moms in the Seattle area. So once all the pandemic restrictions lifted, we got together, we had a play date with the kids, and then we kind of hit it off. Even though our personalities are very different, I think we complement each
Yeah.
other. And so I had thought about a podcast, but I said, I'm never going to do it by myself. I don't think I'm that interesting. It would have to bring some kind
And
of
then
value.
came me.
And then
Your girlfriend.
Amazing.
had all the expertise. So she was the one who kind of got our wheels spinning, and it kind of happened really fast. And then it's kind of a passion project for us. It's a lot of fun. And people have slowly, as they're listening to it, a lot of it is friends. We love hearing from people saying, oh, like I had that kind of experience too, or I love hearing you guys talk about your dynamics with in-laws or this struggle with parenting. And I didn't know you had anxieties about this or that. So that's been kind of a fun byproduct of it. But really, it was like an excuse for us to see each other and see if we could create something that we could own.
And there's too many white men podcasts, so
Yes.
That's right. We need the Korean
Yes.
women podcasts.
yeah.
Yes.
100%.
I love that.
So what were your first impressions of each other?
Ellen was so real. We went there. She lives in in the woods.
In the woods. I live in a get out situation. In the woods. Like, if I take an Uber, they don't want to drop me off my house because they're like, this is too deep.
Oh my
I mean, it was
Yeah.
almost like, I don't want to, maybe exaggerating a little, but I told the kids, okay, it's going to be a long drive. We're going
Yeah.
to stop at H Mart first, buy
Yeah.
some food. You always need food, right? And so we went to Ellen's house, and I said, I'm here. And I could hear her laughing in the back. She's like, come back. Like, we're in the back.
And I have a backyard in the woods. It's literally like a campsite.
Yeah. And
Oh
you
my
had your
God.
foot up because she had a torn Achilles tendon.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
I
so,
had my foot out. I'm like,
yeah.
you're gonna have to come to me.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So
And
it was kind of, she's exactly what you see
yes.
Yeah, is what you get
What
in
to
person.
see
Mhm.
online of me is what you're gonna get in person.
Yeah.
I
I love it.
I am too tired
Yeah.
to put on a
I'm
mask.
too tired.
And Jane you were actually also exactly how you presented online. I was just like, oh my gosh, she's so poised. She's just so put together. Like she has this like journalist voice. I was like, oh, she's so
Mm.
professional, and I'm just like this country bumpkin in the woods, like day drinking. So
But what I remember is we talked for hours and hours, and
the kids were playing
Yeah.
free. They were running around in the woods,
Yeah.
having a good old time.
I thought it was going to be, you expect there to be always some awkwardness,
Mm.
but there wasn't really. And I really had to peel myself away because then I would have been stuck in traffic
Yeah.
on a Friday.
Yeah, she's like, I do have
Yeah.
to
That's
go.
the
Let's go.
best.
Yeah. And so, and then Ellen she's a comic. So she does stand-up
Oh,
comedy.
you don't say.
Yeah. Right?
Giggle woman. I'm a giggle woman.
So then we would go to the shows and we kind of kept
Wow.
in touch that way. Yeah. But it was kind of like friendship at first meeting.
I'm also interested, like before TikTok, what were you doing before that?
For me, I specifically fell into TikTok during COVID. So I and I had friends that told me, Ellen, you should get on TikTok. And I was like, ew, that is so rude. Like, I know you think my comedy's not great, but like, so I was doing stand-up and they would constantly tell me, like, why aren't you on TikTok? This was before COVID, right? And I was insulted. I was like, how dare you? Because I thought that where they do like stupid shit. I was like, listen, if you don't want to come out to my show, just say that. And then like COVID happened and everything was locked down. I lost stage time. There was no more comedy spaces. So I was, and then the kids weren't going to school and we were bored out of our fucking minds. I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. And I live out in the woods. There's no like social scene.
Mhm.
So I was just like, ugh, fine, let me see what TikTok is doing. And then I get on there. And at first I tried to do dances and I'm like, I suck so bad at this. It was embarrassing. You should just stop. And then I started hearing stories and I was like, wait, this is not what I thought. It was,
Mhm.
so I had,
Like other people telling stories.
I came
Mhm.
across, people are just talking on here.
Yeah.
And having, things of interest that I talk about on stage and whatnot. And so I just sort of fell into, I really
Mhm.
had no, but nowadays people are setting out to be on TikTok or being a content. It was completely just, I had nobody to talk to and I was sick of my kids. So that's how I ended up on TikTok.
Yeah. Similar for me. It was during the pandemic. I think I remember it being maybe the second week of lockdown. So Seattle schools closed March 11th. 2020.
You know the exact
No,
thing.
exactly.
Wow.
You guys
You
are
so
really
similar.
are related. Yeah, you
Yeah.
really are related to each other.
I have no idea what
Jane.
it's coming. So by that first week of pandemic, I mean, I was like the type A mom, and I made a schedule for both of the kids. They were kindergarten and preschool at the time.
This is my future, I
And
think.
oh my gosh, like we were doing
Yeah,
workbooks
it's
in the
Christina's
morning.
future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Art, math, science, and then I got burnt out really quickly. And then at the same time, for the first time in 7 years, I was going back to the gym. I had started going back to the gym like January 2020 because I said, this is my year. It's a new me. And I was being really good about it, and everything shut down with the pandemic. And so I think I just had so much energy and I was very antsy. We couldn't go anywhere. we were living in a rental house because it hadn't even been a year since we moved from Seattle. And my husband, his office, his dental practice was shut down too. So it was all four of us stuck at home. And then my best friend in LA was like posting random videos on TikTok, and she was doing dances because she too, she works a corporate job, but she was remote working from home. And she said, "Hey Jane, like do these dances. Like you burn so many calories because it's so hard, so hard to learn these dances at 35 years old." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, really?" And she's like, "Yeah." And it was really fun, like 15-second,
You're good at
easy choreography, right? And some of it was really hard. Like she would send me stuff. She's like, "This one next, this one next."
Oh,
And I was like,
yeah. You were given TikTok challenges.
She gave me TikTok challenges. And then she gave me like the whole spiel on, you have to post it like #FYP. I said, "Why?" And she's like, "It stands for For You page, I think. And it's so that you can get discovered." And I said, what do you mean discovered? And she's like, "We want other people to see it." I said, "Why would I want other people to see it?" That's how you grow and get viral. And I was like, I don't want that to happen at all. Like, why would I want to do that? And then so now to think about it now is so weird. But instead of, I did post it, but of course, like I had no followers, right? So then I would put it on my Instagram story.
But now 3.4 million followers.
Oh my God.
So once I found my groove on TikTok, and it was actually fun, and it gave me like one thing to look forward to every morning. Every morning I woke up and I said, I want to do this or that, or I saw people, just like you saw people telling stories. I saw people sharing like their relatable pandemic moments. A lot of them were parenting centered. And so I was like, I'm just going to share stuff about what it's like to be a parent right now in the state of this world. And so that gained traction. And then I got a little bit, I was finding my voice a little, and there was a lot going on in 2020. So I started just showing like conversations that I was having with my kids about different things. And it was like about the presidential election, or it was about Martin Luther King, and it was about Stop Asian Hate. And so I think that's where a lot of that social like viral growth happened. And then, so for me too, it was very accidental. And since then, it's become, I treat it more like a job. And so with that, it also means it's less fun for me. It's less just pure fun for me. Yeah. And,
I'm still just fun because I don't get brand deals like Jane does. So yeah, I'm fun. There's no money.
If anyone is just listening to this episode, I think they should watch it on YouTube because it's like the facial expressions, the interjection. Like, it's so good. It's so good. It's giving. It's giving.
A lot with my face.
yes.
It's giving life into this episode. So good.
Well, I feel like that was really nice to get to know both of you a little bit. I mean, well, obviously I know my cousin, but so nice to also see the dynamic. And I think should we go to Icha and get a little bit deeper? Yeah. Okay. Cheers.
Okay.
Okay, ready?
Okay.
Cheers. What were you each like as children, as kids? I feel like I can kind of know the answer because you're both so real and, we can see the dynamic. But what were you each like as kids?
You know what I was like.
So my cousin Jane, she was the one who would orchestrate our Thanksgiving plays. She'd have all the younger cousins, and siblings. Like, she would direct us in our plays about Thanksgiving, about Christmas. We'd always like hold hands and sing a song at the end, and put it on for all the adults.
You're a dictator.
I think, I was going to say producer.
Dictator producer.
So context, I'm the oldest, not only in my family, but among cousins.
Yeah.
So I think I always took that role. I really internalized that role.
You took
And-
charge.
Yes, it was
Yeah.
me and then Christina's older brother, Steven. So we were like the two eldest ones. And so we always, and there's my family and Christina's families, there's 5 of us. So we always, and then we have a bunch of like 5 younger cousins, but we're like the OG 5. So we
Yeah.
always called each other
We call
the
ourselves
OG
OG5.
5. But we would always put on plays and,
So-
About what?
okay, it was whatever holiday we were there to
Whatever
celebrate.
holiday.
We would sell tickets
Wow.
for Yongton, and then
역시.
we'll gather all the time
Wow.
and then put on a show for them. But
You are a
that's kind of how.
businesswoman.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
entrepreneurial right
I don't
there.
know.
Mhm.
But that kind of gives you an idea of.
Mhm.
Wow.
I was like 언니, Nuna. Yeah.
Mhm.
What about you?
I'm gonna shock you. I did not speak. I came from Korea when I was 8 years old. Didn't speak a word of English. I had a bowl cut, so people thought I was a boy. I was
Can
already
you send us a picture of that?
Yeah, we need to post that.
That's kinda weird.
I didn't know white people were real until I got on a plane full of white people, and I was like, "Oh, they're real." Yeah, and playgrounds, I was bullied, so I would carry around pebbles of rock to keep
Oh.
other kids away from me,
Yeah.
like because they could have been actually trying to be nice. I don't know,
Uh-huh.
but I was like, "Stay away."
You couldn't understand.
Well,
Mm.
because I was already made fun of, I was like,
Yeah.
I don't want any of this. I don't want this
Mm.
evil energy. So I would just spray rock.
You actually would
Yeah.
spray it.
I would be like, yeah. So I just wanted everybody to like not notice me. I wanted everybody to. I just wanted to blend with the walls. I didn't want the teacher to call me. I just try to make myself small as I could. And sometimes, but like I did always laugh loud and stuff like that. And my mom, my stepmom, hated it. She was like, "Why are you so loud?" And so I try to get out of everybody's way. And then only in college I exploded, and I was like, "Oh my god!" And then in college I came out of my shell.
So if your
Wow.
your high school friends, would they be shocked or surprised to know that you're
So
a touring comedian?
I went to my 10-year reunion, high school.
Reunion.
photo
How
in
was
this
that?
fuck me dress, like
Whoa, we need a photo of that.
Yeah,
we
can
need
I
a
send
photo
that
of that.
photo?
I got so shit faced, and I was like, "Remember me? Yeah, bitch." Had a really good time.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. I don't have any friends from high school. So all my actually there was like a few, but most of the people. So I get really surprised because how I viewed myself versus how actually other people remember me is so different. Because in my memory, I thought I try to be as unmemorable as possible, like blend in, and but other people actually did remember, like, "Oh, you were the artsy person."
Ah,
I was
yeah.
like, "Oh,
Oh.
I wouldn't have thought that I made that kind of impression, but
Yeah. I mean, you are very artsy. Like you
Yeah.
love creating things, and she makes all of her own merch and like the
Wow.
kimchi,
My
the kimchi
kimchi
sweatshirt.
Yes.
I should have worn it."
She designed our logo.
Sorry.
You're like rubbing your boobs.
Yeah, this is why everyone go watch this episode. It's gotta be watched.
Usually it would be kimchi merch on here, but I forgot to wear it, so I don't rub my boobs for no reason. Actually, no, I do. Let's be real, thing.
I have a feeling that you two are like, well, Ellen, are you actually introverted? And like Jane, are you actually extroverted? I feel
Oh,
like
where do you
for
get your
some
energy?
reason, yeah. Like I feel like for some reason, even though on the surface it looks like maybe Jane is more introverted and Ellen is more extroverted, I feel like it'd be the
Ah.
opposite.
That's a good question.
No, she really is introverted. And I am extroverted, but we do both very much enjoy our like family, like
Aw.
just
Mm.
being home. So as much as I am
Mhm.
extroverted, I love being home and doing nothing.
Yeah.
He also loves doing nothing, but will do a lot of things. but I will just do nothing. Well, where we like really connect is our family values.
Yeah.
Like whatever we're doing, our number one like thing is momming, you know, and our family comes first. Like home life has to be really like anchored, and we have that at home.
Yeah.
So I think that's where we really relate.
And I think you do so much. Like Ellen is, it seems like almost every weekend she has a show or she's hosting something. And I try to, you know, support her as much as I can.
She comes out to a
but
lot.
I will tell her, I can't today.
Yeah, I told her, like, you came out to a lot, so you are off.
But I need a week. Yeah. So
I also don't want to go, but I put it on, so I have to be there. But I'm like, you don't have to be there. It's totally understandable. And I think we recognize, we value and respect each other's number one thing is our home life. So I think having that for each other and understanding it so well, like if we really had a choice to do nothing and just be home, we would.
You would think like I know a lot of extroverted people, but I feel like your uniqueness is that you are so extroverted and yet you're so attuned to like the other person's needs. And you just, so I think that's why I feel so comfortable.
Yeah, that's
with
true.
you.
That's, I think, where we connect.
Yeah. Sometimes with a lot of very extroverted people, it's hard for them to know like, oh, I need space, or, you know what I mean?
They don't have nunchi.
We talk about nunchi all the time.
Yeah.
Me and her, like,
Yeah.
But Ellen, that's just your face. It's not nunchi.
I give her the signals. I'm like, we gotta go. We gotta go.
So yeah, when we go
So
into record podcasts, like a lot of times we're just very mellow, right?
Yeah.
Before we're like, oh, okay, you know, and then we can kind of turn it on, and then we're doing it for the lunch after to really, you know, debrief about the week and talk. So
and that's my preference. So I am extroverted, but I love one-on-ones. I don't. I mean, I do shows obviously because I'm a stand-up and do a lot of things. But the connection that I love most in life is one-on-ones. Like when I'm talking with Jay, or when I'm talking with my husband, when I'm spending time with my kids. I love being in it. So I think that's, even though I'm extroverted, when I'm engaged, I like to be one-on-one. I like small groups. So I'm very separate. Like it's very separated. Like stage performance, tons of people. Even my husband, like, you're just a different person then. And then this is like, that's a show persona. But then this, when I get to talk to Jane, we dig deep, and it's like, that's the connection I enjoy most in life. So I think and that's more of an introvert's way of talking. And that's, my husband's an introvert. So I think that's what's also made my marriage successful, is because even though we seem different on the outside, the way we communicate, you know, one-on-one, it's very connected. So.
It's true. And your like comedy audience would never see this side on stage.
Yeah. Everybody thinks I'm like this crazy party girl. I'm like, I do like to party, but you know,
I'm actually a deep person.
Like, who knew?
And then Jane's like out at the clubs on
True story.
I think I'm just a boring person, and I don't think I ever was that person. I think I could be, you know, but when I was trying to just fit in and go with, you know, the crowd or my friends. Yeah. But I'm so glad to be the age I am now, because I can be less apologetic about.
Well, Jane's the one that went to Coachella and was partying up at Coachella.
I did no drugs. I mean, I was like, I had to make sure I was staying hydrated too.
Oh my God.
I was proud of myself. I was proud of myself for hanging.
She is such a mom. I was hydrated.
So responsible.
Yeah.
I can imagine Jane handing out liquid IVs to everyone.
That's what I do.
Totally.
Yeah, exactly. We know what Jane was like because we know what Christina is like now. Wow. Okay. There's so many nuggets in there that I have questions about, but I guess first, Ellen, I'll ask you. You talked a little bit about like how you kind of like popped off in college. Can you talk about that and like what that was like and how and why you sort of popped off and like came into yourself?
Became free.
So I had no social life. coming from Korea to America, my parents were super living like the hard life. And I was the latchkey kid. I had my 7-year younger brother. So I was responsible for his life. And we just came home, cleaned the house. And it got to a point that I was actually scared to go out, because whenever I did go and do something, I would come back and they'd be like, your room wasn't clean to perfection. You are a horrible child. And then I got anxiety about just leaving the house because something bad would happen. And then high school, again, once high school happened, it was like, you got to get to college. Otherwise, if you don't get into college, you're going to bring shame to the family. So after you get into college, then you can do whatever you want. So I grinded so hard to get into college. And then I got into college and it was the same thing. Like my parents were like, now you got to get a job. I'm like, I just got to college, right? And so it just started, I feel like most of my life, I just kept thinking I'm going to get to a place. Like in elementary school, I got to learn English. Once I learned English, and then it was like, middle school, like, oh, okay, we moved to a different neighborhood. It's like, I just got to get adjusted here. Then once high school hit, it's like, oh, okay, if I can just make it through high school, my parents said they'll give me freedom when I get, I was always home, came straight home, did all the laundry, did all the housework because my parents were working around the clock. And I just kept thinking, like, if I just get to this one place. And then college happened. And I think it actually got worse. My parents really thought, they had no trust in me. They thought when I was at the library, they thought I was out partying. Everybody thinks I'm a party girl. Believe me, I wanted to be. I did, but I was really good. I had so much fear. I never even slept over at a friend's house. And so, but it got to a point in college where I got kicked out.
Of your house or college?
Of my house, of my parents' house. And I know everybody thinks you got kicked out of college, right? Yeah. True story. No, I got kicked out of the house, and it wasn't like, why do kids get kicked out of the house? They were caught doing drugs. They were caught partying. I literally just came home late from the library. And
oh my gosh.
And it was like, what? And I remember, it was a very abusive, physically, verbally, everything. And I remember it got to a point like my mom had literally grabbed me by the hair, thrown me around. And I just sat there. I'm like, this has been my whole life. This was my whole existence. I'm like, it's never going to end. I'm like, and then she goes, if you don't like it here, we did this whole, it was like a play at this point. Like she dragged me out of the house and be like, if you don't like it, go out. And it'd be literally to the porch of like, drag me out by the hair. And I'm like, you know what? I think I will leave. I said, and then everybody was stunned. My dad was stunned. My mom was stunned. I was stunned.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm here. Like, apparently I make you miserable. I'm miserable. I literally just wanted to die.
Yeah.
I was like, and then everybody went silent. Okay, you're going to leave Monday. Okay. And then we all just went back to our things and I packed my mattress and a bag and that was it. And I started looking for an apartment, and I had never been on my own like that. Wow. I mean, I had in a way. My parents left me in Korea to start life in America, but it was terrifying, absolutely terrifying. And I didn't know how to act when I got out. I was never used to so much. All of having like no fear, someone watching your every move, to then like, what am I going to do now? I had anxiety on such a high level because I had never had an experience where I didn't answer to someone. So it was very traumatizing.
How did you cope with like this sudden, like, okay, now I have to grow up and I have to take charge of what I'm doing with my own life. Like, how did you cope with that at such a young age?
I was crazy. I did not know how to act. I was also like, I'm going to go to concerts. But even then, even after all that, like I didn't do drugs. I hung out with people. I went out. I could do normal things now. And that for me was big. Yeah. Like going out and staying out late, just like midnight was a huge deal for me. I drank, but it wasn't like, oh my God, she's doing, Molly or anything. It wasn't anything crazy. So I think what by other people's standards was a normal college experience. But for
I
me,
see.
I thought I was like, whoa, this is a complete new world for me. But it honestly, it was the best of times, but it was also the worst of times because I had never known when you're so used to being in fight and flight mode, living in like fear to all of a sudden like, and then you get more paranoid, like something bad's gonna happen, you know? So I think it just, I don't know. I don't know how I survived it. And I'm 41 now. I still have nightmares about college.
Oh my God.
And I only recently found out a few years ago that's actually PTSD. I would wake up in the middle of like, I fucked up.
Oh my God.
And I'd have to look around like, oh my God, I'm old now. I'm not.
I'm old
I'm
now.
married. I have kids. I have to tell. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
It was. I survived. I would say I
Mm.
survived. I don't think I got through it, but it was definitely survival.
Mm. So do you think that, like, to Megan's question, it was like out of survival and trying to adapt into this new situation, this is when you had to then interact with people, and this is when you felt like you have to shift your personality from one where you weren't like talking as much or you weren't as social, and then now that you're in this new environment, it's like, this is what I have to do to survive in this new space?
Actually, no. I think I realized that I was always a loud person, but I was trying to make myself.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God,
You're suppressing
this is
it.
what my voice
Yeah.
sounds. I didn't realize I was suppressing it. I was like, oh my God, I can talk now. I can breathe now. I can laugh now. I can take up space now.
Yeah.
So that I almost like, you know, when you've been like contained for so long, you're not even, it just, and you're, the other day I bought a jar of kimchi. Okay, not off camera.
Oh
I had left it out and I forgot to put it in the refrigerator, right? And it started building.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, I should, the top of it looked a little bent. It's plastic cap. I was like, what's happening? So then I opened it, it popped off.
Yeah.
Water everywhere. I was like, oh. And that's basically what happened.
You are the kimchi.
Wow.
You are kimchi.
Like,
That's why you rep kimchi.
Yeah, that's why you have your
because
kimchi
you
shirt.
are.
Yeah.
I really should have worn my kimchi
fermenting
sweatshirt.
in there. But you know what I love too? What? Yeah, you were fermenting in there. But you met your now husband,
Yes.
Adonis, in college.
I
And
married
love
my
that.
first love.
That's part of kind of your story, like your
My first love.
yeah.
Wow.
I served, and you know that's when we trauma bonded.
That's a real
I
thing.
was crazy. I was crazy. And sorry to this man. I don't know how he endured it. I was like, oh my God, you hate me. You hate me. Oh my God, just say you hate me. Like I was around the clock batshit crazy because I was not used to my emotions.
Yeah.
And
Right.
being able to express myself and then getting afraid that I was a hot mess.
And he kind of let you do all of that.
No, he like drew his boundary. He's like, I love you, but this is getting crazy. One time I threw a printer at him.
A printer?
Oh, wait, maybe I threw something at him and it hit the printer. Never mind. Yeah. And then we broke the printer. Okay, that's
Because the printer is big.
Yeah, because it's like, how are you like gonna carry this printer and like?
I only remember that I broke the printer and it was like expensive and we were college kids. And we broke the printer and it was something that was supposed to hit him, but it hit the printer instead. I was like, ugh, better
the printer than
Yeah, at least
Then I was
a printer. I have a question for both of you, and I guess anybody, but actually, no, it's just for you two because you'll see a specific to your mothers. But I think like all of us, you know, we go through things that we don't realize have traumatized us, right, in our childhood and growing up. And I'm just curious, like, how that is now that you have kids of your own and just like, you know, sorting through all of that. I feel like even just today,
all the time.
yeah, okay, because even like
Yeah,
being
we talk about it all the
childless,
time.
it's like a lot. So I'm really curious how it is for you as moms.
I mean, I think like I grew up with like a lot of my friends, like authoritarian parents. So when I tell my mom about certain challenges I'm having with Ruby, her answer is, it's like I'm looking for some kind of comfort from her. Like, oh, I know how that is. That's so tough. Her answer is, you weren't like that. She needs some discipline. And I'm like, well, that's what I'm trying to do. But it's so hard because you're trying to find that balance of how do you do it. I mean, yeah, I know that when I hear stories like the heartbreaking stories of Ellen and her parents, I know that's not the upbringing that I had. However, I still grew up with very culturally authoritarian parents and an upbringing. And I don't want I don't want to tell my kids like, this is how it is because we're your parents and
Right.
that's that. Like, I really want them to know that we respect them as people and we deserve that same respect from them. Not because we're your parents, but because that's how you treat people. So, but that's really hard, I think, when you're dealing with just the stuff that happens in development with kids. And kids these days, they're a lot more precocious. They can talk, like they'll give it back to me the way that you talk to them, and Ruby will say things like, you can't talk to me like that. And I'm like, I can't imagine saying that.
We always say that. Like, could you imagine? I would have gotten slapped across the
I'm like, 기가 막혀. I'm like,
Yeah.
you're right. I can't talk to you like that. So let me check my tone. But
it's good because you're teaching them to advocate for themselves. Right?
Sure.
We didn't know that.
We didn't know that. Ellen and I talk about it all the time. It's hard. It's really hard. We're always thinking about the trauma that we carried and what are we passing on. We talk a lot about breaking cycles.
Yeah.
And it's hard. Some cycles continue, but maybe to a lesser extent, right?
Yeah.
But I already know I already know what my kids are going to say about me one day. They know what makes me upset. And I just know the conversations that they're going to have with their future partners and stuff.
And their future
You are the
podcast.
disciplinarian. Yeah.
I'm the opposite of Jane. I'm the party. I'm the pushover.
So you're the cool mom.
I'm not just a regular mom. I'm the cool
You're
mom.
the cool mom.
No, honestly, I think they're able to express themselves, and we never had that. So I'm just like, at what point do we say? But James doesn't exist. No, yeah. But I mean, I love it. I love it. But my thing is, we come from a culture where so much of our upbringing is like, there's almost like this pressure, right? To teach like an obligation. Like you have to honor your parents. You have to. But what I want for my kids is I want them to not feel like they have to, right?
You do so much out of obligation.
Yeah,
That's
I
just
want
what
you
we
to
did.
want. Like, once they grow up, I want them to want to come visit on their own and not feel like get a phone call from me and they're handshaking like, oh, what is she gonna say? I think we've gotten to this place. I love my culture. I love it. But my mom would literally beat the shit out of me. And that she would use this old saying like, oh, well, it's because like you like your own kids you give rice cakes and the neighbor's kids the neighbor's kids you give rice cakes, your own kids you give meh. Like you give them that tough love is real love, right? And it's like, why did you even have to say that? If it was love, it's just love, right? But there's this, I think, territory, especially being Korean Americans, and reconciling with our past and, being able to do what we do in our present and seeing the future and generational trauma. I don't want to carry what I had. Essentially, my upbringing was like what not to do. Everything
this is not what I'm going to do with my kids. I don't ever want my kids to be afraid to talk to me or to be afraid to express themselves, to live like, you know, they're walking on eggshells around me all the time. I'm loud already. And so sometimes they do some dumb shit. I'm like, ugh. Like, and then they're like, why did you yell at me? And I'm like, are you my regular voice?
Yeah.
But I'm mindful.
Yeah.
We are open.
And for me with Ruby, it's like, you may not talk to me like that. Then that's the tone of voice that she cannot stand. She's like,
you may
she
not
gets so
talk to me.
scared. Yeah. Because I'm just like, one time I did yell not too long ago. I was like, you want to hear yelling? This is yelling.
Oh my God, I've done that.
Yeah.
I've done that.
Because I was like,
you will
I
do
will
that. You
dare
will do
you.
that.
Right?
You think that's yelling?
No, you never feel good. You never feel
feel
good.
worse.
You feel like really, I felt horrible after. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a daily struggle. We don't want to raise like spoiled, entitled kids.
Yeah, the balance.
And sometimes I have to question, like, is that what I'm doing? But here's one thing that stuck with me after. So we went to Korea in October, and we met a lot with my husband's family, his relatives. So my mother-in-law's side of the family is all in Korea, and one of his aunts told him, when I wasn't there, she told him, your number one job is to make your parents happy. And I was like, immediately
no.
I was like, red flag. Like, I don't think that's your number one job, because that's not your number one role anymore. And it goes back to that, is like, I want to do it out of my own free will.
Right. And also, you don't want your kids.
I don't want
their number one goal in life is to make you happy. No. I don't want that. I don't want that burden on them. I don't want that. All I want for my kids is to be healthy, happy, and have passions in life and goals.
A pathway to happiness.
Yeah, like I want them to, find things that they feel joy about. You don't have to be doctors. You don't have to be lawyers. Just find the thing that gives you life. And I think we're at a point where we like, what is it to really fully live, right? And it's to like be able to have children that are living fearlessly. And as much as our culture, and that's where I think we clash, because our culture teaches us so much. And I want to honor it. I love it. I love aspects of my culture, the filial piety. It's beautiful when done right. But it's like the important thing that people don't emphasize is when it's done right.
Yes. And, I think there's like so much talk about, Americans are individualistic, and where we came from is community oriented. But I don't want that community to be out of obligation. It should be out of a respect.
You should be community oriented
together.
But you want to.
Yes. Yeah. So I think that's where the difference is. Yeah. I mean, it's tough being Korean American and raising kids.
Yeah. Well,
Everything
I hope that when your kids are of age to listen to this podcast, or maybe they can even tune into it now, it's like, these were your mother's intentions, and they love you at your core, but there's also like a lot going on in terms of dynamics of like how they were raised. That's like a part of you. It's like deep set in your being, and it's like change is hard, especially when that's a part of you, is like, especially if that's how you were raised for years and years. And so to like course correct with intention, that takes a lot of work. And so I think like, even when I see the ways that like we were raised or the way that I was raised, it's like, now I'm at this age where I understand, and I have this like almost like forgiveness of the way, or understanding of the way that my parents raised me. It's like, they also came from a really hard time, and they were doing the best that they could. But I think like I never heard the intention from my mom and my dad of like how they intended to raise me. But now we have like shared languages. Like my parents spoke a lot of Korean and I speak English. And so now I'm sure that like your kids, you're trying to raise them to like know how to speak Korean, but you're probably going to be conversing in English, so you can have these conversations, which is really, really great. And they can hear these intentions later down the line of like, my mom was trying her best. She's still who she is. That's beautiful too. But like, I still appreciate that she had that intention to break away from those stereotypes, which is still really hard.
Yeah, I love that point. I think we can imagine and we can know a little bit what their intentions were. Yeah, language is huge, you know, even for me, where my parents did speak English and I did, you know, we didn't have a huge language barrier, but I didn't have these deep conversations with my dad, for example, you know. And now I realize, oh my gosh, I don't really know much about him. Like she was asking me today, like, what does your dad do? I'm like, oh, he's an engineer, and like, you know, and things like that.
I said, can we have him on our podcast? She goes, no.
I was like almost tearing up.
I was like tearing up so much, like just hearing your stories of how far you've come, and like also Ellen, like how you've blossomed. Like I saw this reel the other day of a chameleon like on its way to a new, like another life, but it's like it's like in that moment it changes all these colors and it's like these like flashes on its skin, and it's like all of these things that you felt in your life that you suppressed, or the ways that your emotions were carried, it all comes out at the end anyways. And so I was like, there's like music to it, and it's like this really sad, sappy, like classical music. But then it's also like I'm seeing that expressed through you and your story, and like seeing you, not IRL, but like through the screen, and seeing how much you've changed along the way, and like you being expressive and also passing that ability to express down to your children is like such a like full circle, like beautiful, like touching.
Beautiful. More beautiful than the way I
very
would say
emotional.
it.
The kimchi.
There's so many like little pieces. I feel like we need to do like an entire
Part two.
season or something, because like I have all these questions about like specific things, but I don't want to get like so in the weeds. I wanted to hear from Jane. You said earlier, you said something about like you were kind of talking about like your type A-ness a little bit, and then for those listening, Ellen just like big nods next to her. And
I love you for it.
Yeah, and then I think you said something about how like now you feel like you can really like own that a little bit.
How I can be a little bit more unapologetic.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit about that and like where maybe that came from, or like how then you are less apologetic for it?
Yeah, I think where the unapologeticness comes from is just knowing myself more and knowing that this is always who I was, and just having an awareness for it. And so it's a lot about giving. Like I used to feel really bad, and I think at times I still do feel guilty for, or like, you know, inadequate for the way I am, or I feel like, oh, I need to be a little bit more open-minded, or, you know, let go of things more. But I also can give myself a little bit more grace and say, okay, Jane, like you've been, you don't allow yourself really any margin to make mistakes. That's a big reason why you don't allow other people, like especially the people who are closest to you, to make those mistakes. Probably the people on the most receiving end of this is my kids and my husband. So I think in that way, I'm learning to be, one, more unapologetic, but two, accept that more and give myself a little bit more grace. I used to hate admitting like that I'm a perfectionist. But people around me point that out to me, and I'm like, oh, like I never thought that. And I think maybe it's because I can't say I'm a perfectionist unless I think what I'm achieving is perfection, and I never think that. So I always think, no, I'm not, because I got to be like good with like good enough. you know.
But motherhood will also just naturally make things fall off, you know, because you can't survive motherhood unless you let go. And it just kind of happens. You start to lose. You can't. None of you are mothers yet, right? Okay, I'll tell you this. You can't have it all. You can prioritize things, but you will never have it all and eat your pie and cake and all that. It's just about having your priorities. And then if you recognize those priorities and decide, okay, something's got to give, and you value what's, most important to you, then you figure out, okay, this is good enough.
Ellen, you were saying one thing about like you can't have it all. You have to prioritize. What does that look like for you? You wanted these 4 or 5 things, and this is how you go about prioritizing 1 or 2 things. Like what does that look like for you in your life now?
My children are healthy and happy. My husband is healthy and happy. And I'm getting good sleep. I'm a bitch, and I need to be healthy, try to eat healthy and be happy, but everything else is icing on the cake. Everything else, if those 3 core things are happening, everything else that I get to do is something I get to do, and I'm not going to put pressure on myself to make money, because we get by. Like, I used to hustle so hard. I used to have my own photography business. I grinded the crap out of it. I went to school for photography and art history. I thought I was going to be an artist. I thought I was going to be a gallery artist. And that was the trajectory. And then I found out that the art world is such a sham, and I didn't want any part in it. And I pivoted to making my own business. I was like, let's just make money doing what I like doing, which is art. But I was so hell-bent on making all these goals financially, and I did hit those goals, but I got burnt out so quick. There was no balance to how I was doing it. And that was before kids. And then once the kids came, it's not even possible. Like, I'm like, there's no fucking way I can keep up the way I've been doing what I've been doing. When kids come along, motherhood is such a curveball. You are trying to survive, and you're trying to make sure your kids thrive. So you have to pick your battles. And so for me now at this point in my life, and I really had to reevaluate, like 40s was such a big milestone for me. I really sat down and actually decided, you know what? As long as me and my family are happy, and we take so much for granted, especially there's wars going on, the pandemic. We are doing well. We have a wonderful home. The kids go to good schools. They're happy with each other. They get along. My husband, he bitches about going to work in the corporate world, but that, somebody has to make money. So, and I'm sorry, but my art degrees don't make us money. So, he's okay with it, and I try to make home life happy, and we're good. And then I make kimchi merch, and I get really excited when I get a 1 t-shirt order, and I go to the post office, and it's the little things. All that's on the cake. So find your core values and focus on that, and realize everything else you get to do. It's a privilege to be alive. Yeah. I really had that awakening. I had friends who took their life, and it's heartbreaking. It's absolutely, and it really gives you perspective about what's important in life. And then you realize, we bitch about getting old, getting fat, and all this stuff. And like, it's a privilege to be alive, though. Yeah. So I think for me, finding that in my 40s, like, wow, like I'm old now. I mean, I'm still young, whatever. But like, I just feel like life is going by so fast, especially when you have kids. When you have kids, you're like, whoa, like a year went by. It goes by so quick, and you realize you really have to be present and cherish what you got going on already.
We were having this conversation in the past few weeks of Christina talking about how she perceives time, and how time is perceived so differently in our 30s. Like, we don't have kids, but it's really great to hear you and in your 40s and that perspective of like, it does go fast, but this is like what you have to prioritize. Like, this is what's important, and it is a privilege to be happy and healthy because not everyone has that.
Dude. Bro. Dude.
Yeah.
Bro.
Yay!
Cheers.
I like to lower my life's expectations. So
That's another piece of advice to us.
Oh yeah.
Or another.
Is that a piece of advice?
four. I was just like, oh, Jane says her cousin's gonna do a thing. I'm like, okay, I'll show up. But this was really beautiful.
I knew it was going to be like.
I know. She always.
aligned to.
I like
your
to.
values
Yeah.
and-
Oh, she knows me. I
That's so thoughtful.
not get disappointed. So I like to keep my expectations low.
And that's good advice. That's
good.
really good advice.
No, this is
Yeah.
like, so beautiful to see young women thriving and like have an interest in what we have to say. And I think, it gets better.
Oh.
That's nice.
It
And
does.
I would say if I could tell my younger self, try to enjoy it. I was so fucking worried. I always thought there was a destination to get to. If I just get here, I'm going to be happy. I lived my whole life like that. I thought when I was a little kid and my parents left me, and if I just rejoined them in America, things are going to get better. If I just show them I can get into college, things are going to get better. It was always like this thing. And when I get there and I'd be like, this is it. Like I thought it would be a whole new world once I got here. And what I realized is like, you have the now and you just have to just cherish the now. And I wish that I had just enjoyed my 20s. I mean, I did really enjoy. I partied hard in my 20s, but like, be really aware of what you've got going on and give yourself the flowers. Give yourself the flowers. Buy yourself flowers, literal flowers if you have to, and cheers to yourself in a way that is meaningful. Like, hey, like I am working hard. I am doing the best I can, and that is enough. I feel like so often I criticize myself I criticize the fuck out of myself, and I wish I had been kinder to myself.
Yeah.
Something we're still working on,
Yeah.
but really, I was too hard on myself. And that's our upbringing, and you feel like you're not worthy. And that's why I wrote a children's book called Be You.
Oh,
Well, I gave you the first one. Like,
so nice.
And where can people buy Be You?
Yeah.
I did?
It's okay.
No, I didn't. I gave it to you. I wrote a message.
I know, but you still have it, I think. Again, she was like, be sure to bring that. And I was like, okay, I will.
Okay,
The tenderness that is Jane being like, no, but I think
I
you
know,
have it.
but you have it. I need it.
okay.
Yeah.
Jane gentle parents me. Yeah.
And also, she's always like, and like, if I can only gentle parent like my husband and my kids the way I am to you, or you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's okay. It's
No,
okay.
she's the nicest to me, and we're nicest to each other, and then
We're
to our
nicest to
kids
each
are like,
other.
yeah. My husband, he does care a lot for me. I'm like, I think you hate me, and he's like, oh my god, we've been together how many years?
I have a question about that. So, okay, we talked a little bit about motherhood, and obviously, like, we're not mothers yet. So I think I understand, but there's like parts of me where I'm like, oh, I'll probably look back on this and be like, oh my god, they
Yeah,
just gave
look
me
back
all the
after
answers.
you've had.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But in terms of like maybe like womanhood or like the relationship you have with like your significant other, like how do you keep that balance, like whilst because Ellen, you said, okay, when you have a kid everything just happens, right? And things happen so fast. But in terms of like taking motherhood out and just like womanhood and you being you, and also like your relationship with your significant other, how does that play into the mix in terms of balance?
It's so. I mean, I'm not even kidding. Like
We picked good men. There's so much trash out there, but like even I have friends that have husbands, and I'm like, ew, like. And even they under their breath is like, oh, my husband would never change a diaper. I'm like, what century are we living in? Are you freaking kidding right now? Like, if you don't see the qualities in a man that would make him a great father, and that's what you want children in your future, run the other way. Because you know, my husband, the reason for me personally, he loves being a dad. And he's so involved in parenting. And, you know, I think the gender roles are so embedded. Anybody that meets my husband, they're like, there's no way. There's no fucking way like that. He's the one that volunteers. He's the one that does donuts with dad. My kid literally asked me, like, Mom, how come you never volunteer? I'm like, I'm not that kind of mom. It's I like to dismantle the patriarchy from within.
Love it. Love it. Yes.
So, you know, weaponized incompetence, you do that shit. You show the man you don't know how to do anything and let them figure it out. That's what I've done. Jane's the opposite.
I love it.
Jane's the opposite.
I mean, I just, you know, also Adonis is Filipino and Ben is Korean. He had a very similar upbringing to me. So I think, and then also like our just professionally, the way I became a stay-at-home mom when we moved here to Seattle because we moved for Ben's work. And so it kind of came with the embedded gender roles. But I think what's important is if you want to stay together, you're growing and evolving together.
Yes.
So it wouldn't benefit us if I was like, I'm going to be this way and I don't bring Ben along with me. So I think that's one thing that I really appreciate about him is he's been very supportive of.
And he's always trying to like, where can I do better? So he has that openness. Yeah. You need someone that has that openness, like, and not, you know, like know that things change. But I think to your point, the biggest thing that I found, like I said, I have friends who are getting divorces. It's growing with your partner.
Yeah. And one thing that we started in the summer was doing couples counseling. And that was something that we felt would have been beneficial all throughout. But it's only now, about 12 years in, that we have the means and the time to do it. So we prioritize that. It's not always fun. And sometimes it's uncomfortable, but it's something that we have to carve out for ourselves and for our health, you know. And Ellen asks me about it a lot. And sometimes I am comfortable sharing and sometimes I'm not. Like sometimes it's very, very hard because it's like actual work that we're doing in there. And it's confronting like these, like confronting my shortcomings and confronting where I need to realize how I can get better. I think for so many years, it was about how can my partner be better? How can he be better? And then in doing the couples counseling, it was like a weird epiphany, like, oh my gosh, like I am toxic. Like sometimes like I have toxic qualities, but realizing that about yourself, I think is the first step to becoming better together. And we're only doing it because we wanted to do it together and make a choice for
we
the
had
family,
a
for
super
our
real
marriage.
moment. We had a podcast episode and, you know, we talk about everything. We're so open with each other.
And I trust Ellen fully.
Yeah. I protect her. I know she protects me. We respect each other. We were just having a real conversation. I was like, and this time I didn't have the nunchi. I was like, tell me more. What happened? What happened in couples therapy? More. And he was like, huh?
Yeah. I think I was like, oh, we're going there or something. I was trying to like drop
But it was
hints.
the first time I had seen Jane really like have this like epiphany in real time. Like, I think it was me. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God,
Yeah.
this is very real for you. Like that kind of ownership is, I mean, hard for anyone. And I didn't
Yeah.
realize it was so raw at that time. And I don't think she even realized, like, oh, only, you don't know
Yeah.
how uncomfortable you are
Mhm.
until you were like, wait a minute,
Right.
So for me, it was like wonderful in a way that like, oh, like even Jane is human. In my eyes, I do look at you with such like rose color. She told me once we start doing this podcast together, the rose colored glasses are gonna break off. I'm like, no, we've only gotten more tinted. I'm like, oh my God, how do you do it all?
Finally shatter for you?
No, like I'm all like, oh, this is my like treasure saying life being so hard. Like, I'm always rooting for. I'm like, oh, you're like so precious to me. It's only gotten deeper. So then I'm like, what are you talking about? It's your fault. No, you could do no wrong in my eyes.
No. And I think you saw a glimpse of that.
I saw a glimpse of your panic.
Yeah. And then that's also part of, it's also something that I'm working on is like, why am I so fixated on the image that I project? And
Jane has a lot of pride because you match it really well. She's like very poised. Me, I show up drunk sometimes, and that's okay. Not always, obviously.
Oh my God, goals.
Crocs. I don't give a fuck. Jane gives a lot of fucks. I don't. Like I literally thought I was wearing my shorts backwards the other day. And people were like, you are wearing your shorts backwards. No, I'm not. I was still like, even though I thought I was like, whatever, it happens. I went home and checked I was wearing it correctly. But even if I wasn't, I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
That would kill you.
Yeah. So our last therapy session with me and Ben, the therapist was asking me, Jane, like, why do you think you're this way? Where do you think that comes from? Like needing to be like right all the time, correct, like perfect. And I said, well, I think I'm still, I think it's very important to me. I mean, I think I really care about how I appear. And Ben's sitting next to me and he's like, wow, I don't think I've heard you ever say that. Like
acknowledge
it. Words. And so that kind of felt like liberating because I think I hold it in. And I think like, oh, like my vulnerability is just for me to see, and like I process it, I take care of it, and then like what I project is what I want to show. And yeah, I still want to, I still tell people like, oh yeah, like I have those issues and I relate and everything, but for some reason it's always been hard. And I don't know if that comes from never feeling like I was allowed to be that way and allowed to be
you're the oldest,
messy and not have it all together.
Yeah,
but
you had to hold it down.
I heard that all my life from grown-ups in all my life saying like, you're so put together, you're so put together.
Yeah.
But I never thought that's what I was, So I think it was a little bit of like living into that plus part of my personality.
And then even your profession. You're a journalist. You're expected to tell me I'm a comic. I'm expected to be drunk. Like, it's like, I give zero fucks, and we're on the opposite extreme, which is
all
really funny.
And zero fucks. That's where, and then now we're meeting like halfway.
Yeah, just a few, like a handful.
This is where we find the balance. We're good for each other in that way.
Yeah,
we could use a little dose of each other.
Yes. Yeah.
I could give a little more fucks.
I feel like you guys should make TikToks where like you guys swap lives for a day and
wife
swap.
So good. Yeah. Wife swap. Yeah.
Or like get wasted. And then they're tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then you and my husband would bore each other to death.
Yeah.
But it's like Jane also
all your time.
Jane does like
schedule the day by the minute.
And then Jane has like a show. She does like a comedy show.
Yeah.
Ellen
oh my
is
God,
like
Jane does a show.
reporter.
That'd be so. Yeah, a reporter. Like this happened earlier, and that's what happened.
You should do it, Jane.
But it should be like a 10-part series of like all
Yeah,
the different things,
yeah.
like all the different
Oh
things
my
that you guys do
God.
differently, and then how you would bring it into each other's families. Like do
Amazing.
interviews with your kids of like, how did that go? How was it with Ellen Emo?
No, it's just like clips of Ellen like teaching Bennett Ruby how to like say a cuss word or something.
Go with 2 hands.
Ellen is one of the people who like she makes Ruby quiet. Like, her energy subdues Ruby's energy.
Yeah, that's
and like,
true.
Then like, whoa.
I think honestly, yeah, we could talk for like a whole 24 hours
I
all
know.
night.
Oh my God.
But I
We want to
know,
do this again, but like with the tables flipped. So
oh my
Reply
god.
Oh.
let's talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, speaking of
Love
all of
it.
that, can you just like shout out your individual and Reply Yochin like socials and where people
Sure.
can find you?
Yeah. You can find us on Instagram. We're at ReplyYC. And then we are on TikTok, same thing at ReplyYC. And then our podcast is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube.
So
And then-
professional.
Just our names for our own handles.
Yes.
We just go by Jane Park.
Jane Park Hang. So
Oh.
it's JanePar.
Oh, you know what? There are a lot of Jane
Jane
Parks.
Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah.
Scandalous Jane Parks.
Did
you know?
There?
No, I did not know that.
Yeah, they're
Say
yeah.
more.
That's not nothing less.
Like OnlyFans.
Yeah, I was like,
Oh.
it's such a market now.
Yeah.
Jane, did you know?
No, I had no idea.
Yeah, your name is the go-to.
Oh my god.
When I was like, oh, I gotta find. I just like wrote your name and then.
This is really nerdy, but in grad school I did a journalism project where I hunted down all these Jane Parks. It was like based on like a name project. And, yeah.
Jane is a nerd.
And then
My name is Ellen Aquario, ELLENACUARIO. I went from Cole Geo to ACUARIO. It's a lot.
But you're the one and only.
Yes.
Yeah.
This was amazing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, girl. Such a treat.
Thank you so much.
Looking forward to it. all
Yeah, so fun.